Hey, welcome. Craig Peterson here. We got a lot today. Again, I definitely don't think we're going to get to it all today. So if you read my email that came out with the show notes, bottom line, you're probably not going to see all of that on today's show. So we've got a new original article up on my website that I think you might like. It's called It's All Hacked Up, and we've been working on this now for a couple of weeks. I think it is fantastic. Goes through everything, the business email compromise on out. So we will be talking about that today. Facebook, big in the news this week, really, really big. You've got the Cambridge Analytica stuff. You've got Mark Zuckerberg out there. We will be talking about that. We'll talk about how you can see all the apps that are tracking you, what they can do, how to block them. In fact, we've got that up on my website right now at craigpeterson.com. House report came out. Remember Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the head of the DNC, and how she would not share her computers that she said had been hacked with anybody, the whole DNC thing, plus her own office and other congressional offices. What happened with them? Well, a report just came out about these Pakistanis she had working for them. Yeah, no surprise. We predicted it here a long time ago. More on Facebook sharing stuff, more on Cambridge Analytica, what to do if your business gets hacked. Obviously, that's an important topic for anyone who is in business. The Navy's newest submarine, this is so cool. In fact, what we're going to talk about is a little bit about how the user interface is set up. Boy, is this different from previous submarines. Retail, this is crazy. Hillary Clinton, right? The media is talking all about what's happened with Cambridge Analytica, the 50 million accounts that had information about them used by the Trump organization. Well, talking about people that don't know what they're doing. My gosh, compare them to Hillary. We'll talk about her whole Oppo research thing. And a new statement that just came out this week from an ex-Obama campaign director on this whole thing. China is going to bar people with bad social credit from airplanes, trains, and more. This seems like it's straight out of a Hollywood movie. Yeah, isn't that what I said? We got a lot to talk about today. Atlanta just got hacked. We'll talk about that. And by the way, if you were part of the whole Equifax breach, and the odds are excellent that you were, guess what? Americans spent $1.4 billion on credit freezes, on the fees that they had to pay, $1.4 billion in fees in the wake of the Equifax breach. Hey, did you get reimbursed for that credit freeze? Stick around, here we go. Boy, busy morning. We're trying to do this Facebook Live here, so we do every week. We got to do some equipment upgrades. We just still haven't gotten to it. You know how that works, right? But anyhow, we will just let this continue to run. This week, it looks like I've got audio going out. Hopefully, my people are checking it. They're supposed to, that making sure it's all working right. But who knows? Maybe it isn't, but it looks like it is. Last week, the VU meter for the output going to Facebook wasn't triggering at all, so I had to assume that now that I'm seeing it, I have to assume that problem is resolved. Anyways, here we go. We're back on the air on our radio stations here. Hey, welcome. I'm so glad you guys can join us. And every Saturday for, how long, Karen? 15 years, 20 years I've been doing this show. I've been on the air here for a long time. It's been 20 years, almost 20 years since I started on this radio station, and I've had my own show since 2004, right? So that's like 14 years. So a lot of people have been with us the whole time. We pick up new listeners every week, people who are watching this on Facebook and on YouTube, these different live feeds we pick up, because it's, different people like different mediums, right? Nowadays, most everybody kind of hates Facebook. but frankly, they are still the medium, but they won't be forever, right? There's going to be others out there that are going to have a better platform, a more useful platform. We're already seeing the younger kids abandoning it. In fact, some of them aren't even abandoning Facebook. The younger kids never got onto Facebook. So if you're never on Facebook, can you abandon it? The answer, of course, is no. So they're using some of these other things, the Insta Papers and everything else that's out there. Okay, I don't even know where to start. How about we just start at the top of this pile? If you've been to my website, you'll notice it's got a new look. It is barely there. We've got just a basic homepage up. We're working on a new homepage that you can't see. It's at one of these hidden pages. You have to be logged in as an admin to be able to see it. But it was interesting because last week we had some real problems, actually, 2 weeks ago, with the website. And things were just kind of getting bogged down. Now, I've got more than 2,000 articles up there on the website. Some of them I've written, some my wife has written. Other of those articles are curated articles. In other words, things that I found online that I think people might be interested in. And with 2,000 articles that we've had up for, again, way more than a decade, the system just kind of got messed up. And it got kind of messed up in kind of a big way, because it was slow. Did you go to the website? Did you notice how slow it was? It was terrible. And we had caching enabled. I was using a content delivery network, right? I was trying to do all of the right things. We had some load balancing in place, but it was just terrible. So what we decided to do with the website is I took all of the article content, moved it over to a brand new, fresh install of WordPress on a different server as well, physical server that we have in our data center. And then we've started rebuilding the look and feel of the whole website. So it takes time, right? We have clients we've been doing this for. I think the very first one would have been like 92 or 93, I think is, yeah, it would have been 93, because that's when the web protocol kind of came out and started being noticed by people. So back in 93 is when we started putting out websites for companies. And we built some of the biggest website properties in the world, bar none, with all of the security, with email lists, with weekly contacts, point of contacts, back and forth, just all kinds of stuff that we had put together over the years. So my clients get my attention before I get my attention. So all of you listeners and watchers out there, my apologies to you for not having it like up to my normal standards, but that's the way that goes sometimes. And we are putting some more changes up. In fact, the links that are there on the site today will change probably as of tomorrow. The site will still be there, and we're doing more and more things, and we're helping more and more people. We got some pretty much finished. A shout out here to Ron and Monica, by the way, one of my daughters who helps with installing and putting together some of the systems that we put together to help businesses out there. One of my daughters was out there yesterday, and I know they're a regular listener to the show as well, and did some more finishing touches on things. And now, actually, according to what Ella was saying, I guess things are a lot faster, much better wireless now, plus the integrated phone systems, and we've connected their offices together, so they're moving into a whole new world. So again, my phones need work. My networks are pretty good. They're designed to be secure, but anyhow, blah blah. Atlanta, a very big deal in Atlanta. Just happened this week. Hackers are demanding ransom from the city of Atlanta, and here's why. This is a very big deal. This ransomware got into their network, and this happens all of the time. It doesn't happen to my clients, but it happens all of the time. It starts to spread. It starts to take over computers. Now, you should be able to stop the ransomware before it gets into your network. That's why you have heavy anti-spam, because most of the stuff just gets flagged as spam right off the top. So you have anti-spam on your mail server, you have anti-ransomware, anti-malware on your mail server, so it doesn't get in the first place. And then if it does somehow get onto a computer in your offices, for instance, like Microsoft, in some of their software, I remember this just drove me crazy, right? You have the Microsoft install CD, you put it into the drive, and Microsoft installs a virus on your computer. No, okay, I get it. Microsoft is a virus. Okay, I get it. I'll concede that. But in this case, they were actually spreading a virus. Even the USB thumb drive manufacturers were spreading some viruses out there. So, yeah, it can happen and it can get in. So at that point now, anything that comes in on a USB drive or on a CD needs to be scanned and checked. So any file as it's opened should be checked. Your whole computer should be checked automatically, at least daily. In fact, just yesterday I had to fill out an insurance application for a customer, and this application went through, it probably had 50, 60 questions, all good ones, about their data and how it was handled and what kind of firewalls and how are those monitored or their automated systems in place. Right? You have to have all of that. It has to be tracked. It has to be logged. It has to be kept for 7 years. If you sell to a public company, you can get pulled into a lawsuit and they're going to demand that beyond the federal rules of civil procedure. The Sarbanes-Oxley and Gramm-Leach-Bliley regs, associated regs, can nail you for that stuff. This is really serious stuff. So what does the city of Atlanta do? Well, apparently their internal applications, including apps that people are using to pay bills to the city and access court-related information, were all down because they were all part of this ransomware attack. Now, the average business that has a ransomware attack, it's going to cost them, this is average, these are FBI numbers, it's going to cost them $100,000 for a ransomware attack. And I can tell you, every one of my clients, the most it's ever cost them is a phone call to us, just saying, hey, what just happened? Because stuff gets backed out automatically on the higher level networks. But anyhow, it's crazy. We'll talk about this a little bit when we get back, and a lot more here about Facebook and what's happened there. Stick around. You're listening to Craig Peterson, and we'll be right back. All right, guys. So hopefully it's working. Hopefully we've cross-posted this like they were supposed to. We'll see how it goes, right? This is what happens. Facebook is kind of new to us here using it, but it's been good. We've had a lot of engagement. We've had hundreds of people who have engaged right here on Facebook, so I guess that's a good thing. And we're thinking about doing some other stuff too. Make sure you give us feedback, comment on the video, even over on YouTube, because we cross-post these over onto YouTube, and let us know what you think. The biggest problem I have with this is that the video is 44 minutes, give or take. And most people want a 60-second, 90-second video. So what we're thinking about doing is chopping some of these up, putting them together so that they are just the short videos and can be easily digested. I don't know if that's worth it or not, but yeah, I guess we'll see. But let me know, just go ahead and comment. Make sure, by the way, you give a thumbs up. That's really important. The likes here on the video so that other people can see it, other people can find it, because that's sometimes the only way that they can find any of this information. Okay, so we're going to be talking about some Facebook stuff that to me is kind of scary when we get back. But this whole article by Reva Richmond, what to do if your business gets hacked, and this is on Entrepreneur Magazine. I think that this, Karen, would make a really good information product for people, something that gets into it. Because she just goes through, her article is about 3.5 pages long, And she's got maybe 2 paragraphs on each one of these topics, because what to do when your business gets hacked is important. But she's saying you obviously got to find out what happened. You need to seek legal advice. And by the way, if this is a big breach, you should reach out to the FBI. You communicate early and often with all of your affected employees, customers, partners, everybody that might be affected. Eliminate the problem, stop the damage, and rebuild the technology stack and revisit your security plan. What's that? So that's what Riva had to say about it. And I put that on our list already over there on Slack, Karen. But that's what she had to say about it. And I think it's important because a lot of my customers come to me after they've been hacked, right? And it's time to clean up, and they don't want to be hacked again. All right, so here we are going back to the radio with Chardin Sandoval's voice. All right, thanks, Chardin, for that. Let's finish up a little bit on Atlanta here. So they found out about the hack before dawn on Thursday. They noticed some unusual activity on their servers. Yeah, no kidding. All of your files are being encrypted because you don't have proper controls in place to stop this one computer from accessing all of these things on the server. Are you guys nuts? Atlanta needs to hire us. Hire me. Come on, people. So they learned of it because there was unusual activity. Some of the city's data had become encrypted. A ransom note sent to the city gave instructions for paying to free up the files encrypted by the hackers. Now, rule number 1, again, the FBI will tell you this in the briefings, but rule number 1, don't pay the ransom. In about 50% of the cases, even if you do pay the ransom, you don't get your files, all your files back. And in many cases, you don't get any of them back, okay? So don't pay the ransom. So in this case, the city of Atlanta brought in the FBI, of course, brought in the Georgia State Police, who've been looking at this. And the total ransom being demanded apparently is about $51,000. That's reports from the local media out there. Homeland Security's helping out. And remember last year, ransomware hit more than 200,000 companies, hospitals, government agencies around the world, 150 countries. So this is going to keep happening. This is going to keep getting worse. Things are not going to get better. You've got to do the right thing. And that's why we're talking about it here, right? So what should you do? How should you protect your business? Well, that's something that we're putting together right now. And we'll make sure, if you're on my email list, we'll provide you with all that information. We'll be the first in the nation, just like New Hampshire, right? The first in the nation to be able to provide the types of services that only the big guys have been able to afford, provide them to small businesses. And we're already doing that for a select few small businesses right now. Okay, what should we go to next? I got to mention this. We only have a few minutes left in this segment, but China. Now, there was a what's that called? Black Mirror episode, kind of similar to this, where you had social credit. I don't know if you saw it or not, but people, you would walk into a coffee store, for instance, and when you get in the coffee store, what do they do? Well, you have a little badge, and it tells the coffee store clerk what your social credit is. And if your social credit isn't high enough, they don't have to serve you, because obviously you're not a nice person, right? And people can give you social credit, saying, oh, wow, it was a wonderful interaction, kind of like a thumbs up, right, over on Facebook. But they can give you points, and if you don't have a certain number of points, you get down to a certain level, then you go in for retraining, where they reprogram your brain, right? Pretty bad. So what does China do? I don't know, maybe they watch the, is it Black Mirror, Dark Mirror? I'm trying to remember, show. And they now have social credit. They're using facial recognition technology. Now remember, this is all over the place in London, everywhere. There's a lot of it in New York. There's monitoring stuff kind of all over the place now. So what they're doing in China is if you jaywalk, for instance, likelihood is you are caught on camera. So when you're jaywalking, the computers now look at your face, they analyze the face, and they not only send you a ticket, but they ding you on your social credit account. Same thing if you don't pay your bills on time, if you don't attend the Communist Party meetings. You know, attending those meetings will get you additional credit. You can just go to the Communist Party and be a good socialist and you get credit. So now they're going to the next step, okay? So it's got social credit system already in place, and they are going to stop people from getting on planes and trains who have a social credit that's too low. Isn't that amazing? So people are going to be put on these restricted lists. So people who spread false information, right? So if you don't toe the communist line really closely and you spread false information, you're going to get dinged, okay? If you have an expired ticket, you didn't pay those parking tickets. If you lit up a cigarette, those are all misdeeds that will lower your social credit score. And if it gets to a certain point, you're in big trouble because you won't be able to travel. So here we go. This is from the president of Communist China, Xi Jinping. So here we go, quote. Well, he probably said this in Chinese, right? So this is probably a translation. Once untrustworthy, always restricted. That's a direct quote from him, translated, right? So this notice was sent out. 8 ministries have signed on to this, including the country's aviation regulator and the Supreme Communist People's Court over in China. Once you're untrustworthy, you're always restricted. So I guess you can't move back up the scale once you have been dinged by the Communist Party over in China. This is unreal. Hey guys, this was only science fiction 6 months or a year ago, right? And now it's reality in China. Hopefully that doesn't happen here, you know, where we have the thought police, where we have people trying to control what other people are saying, where we have people who are over here trying to restrict freedom of speech. Oh, wait a minute, that is happening. We have marchers on the streets. They don't like to hear conservative voices or libertarian voices, right? They shout them down. They try and stop them from speaking at their universities. It's kind of already happening here. Yeah. Oh well, stick around. We'll be right back. We're going to get into the whole Facebook debacle. What really happened, what does the technology do, what does it allow them to do, and how is it going to affect you, and what can you do about it, right? A whole lot to talk about. We've only got a half an hour left. Stick around. You're listening to Craig Peterson. All right. So, Karen, you wanted to say something?
This article, I wrote an article. This is 2011. I rewrote this article. I don't know where she got this.
Oh, yeah?
I completely rewrote
That's the one that you wrote? Isn't that something?
I completely
She stole... Wow, that's a big accusation.
No, this was in 2011.
Right.
I wrote this. I did an article on...
Right, you're saying that she took your article.
No.
You wrote something similar to this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a lot different.
In 2011.
I get it.
I wrote an article for your website.
Right.
Completely rewrote it based on some of this.
Right.
And this one got put in your stuff instead of the one that I wrote.
Yeah, well, that's because I put it in my stuff.
Oh, okay.
Right? Nobody's helping me with that, choosing the articles.
But I wrote one.
But so what you're saying is she didn't steal your article. You're just saying that you have a similar article about what businesses should do.
Right. And
that's
I
up
just
on
put
our
it out-
website.
And I just put it out in Slack like a week ago.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's why I was like, I wrote this article.
No, yeah, you didn't write that
I
article.
didn't write this article.
Yeah, well, that's what you said.
This is an old one.
So there you go, a little behind the scenes here, what happens when we're on the air. Well, yeah, we're doing Facebook Live, right? So when we're on the air here in studio. All right. Okay, so what should we talk about now? We've only got, what's that?
I can't get this to close up.
Oh, okay, she's having tech problems, but I'm on the air, so I can't help her.
I'm done.
Okay, abstracting on Facebook, we'll talk about that. The House report on the Pakistanis. Man, we've got to mention that because it's so important for businesses. And the Navy's newest submarine controller. We'll talk about this for a second. I think this is kind of interesting.
She's got the title wrong, don't use it.
It's already used. I don't know what you mean.
Because a mast is not used on a submarine.
Oh yeah, no, you're talking about this one. Yeah. No, it should be in quotes. And she talks about it in the article. If you read the article, you'll see.
It's maneuvering.
Yeah, you'll see what it is. Okay, here we go. We're back. All right, we are back on the air. Let's talk about this Navy submarine. And this is kind of cool. The newest high-tech sub, it's called the USS Colorado. And by the way, I learned something interesting from a listener here last week. And that is that the submarines, if they're named after a state, they are a nuclear submarine with nuclear missiles. If they're named after someone else, they're most likely a fast attack submarine. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I haven't looked it up, but it seems to make sense to me. So the USS Colorado, it is a big puppy, 7,800 tons, submerged, travels at 25 knots. I should put that in air quotes, right? Because this probably goes a lot faster. So it joined the fleet in Groton, Connecticut, just a week ago today, the big ceremony over there. But what's kind of interesting is that this particular submarine has operations, some of them, not all of them, that can be controlled by an Xbox controller. Isn't that kind of cool? So they used to have a mast hand grip, they used to have a control panel for the submarines, and now it's just a little Xbox controller. I had to mention that. I think that's kind of interesting. It's cool. It's probably a better way to do it. Probably takes a lot less training because these guys and gals that are operating the various systems on these subs are probably pretty adept with an Xbox controller. So where to start on this whole thing? I have 6 different articles. Now, they were all in your show notes email. So if you got the show notes this morning, they're all in there. So even though we won't have time to get to all 6, I'm going to provide a bit of a summary now. If you want a more in-depth look at all of this, make sure you check out the website. Karen's here in studio. And if you're watching on Facebook, you heard her and I having a couple of discussions during the breaks about different articles and things. But she is posting all of these up on my Twitter feed. So you can find that online at twitter.com/Craig Peterson. You can also, if you'd like, ask me questions here in studio. Send me something anytime during the week at just 855-385-5553. This is my number. You can actually call and leave a message. You can text me again, 855-385-5553. And we can answer questions. We have a lot of people that text because I send out a text before the show just letting people know, hey, listen, the show's starting, here's the topics, click here, and it takes you to the iHeart webpage so that you can listen to the show live no matter where you are in the world, and you can also listen on the iHeart app. So they'll respond to the text, right, with questions. And I welcome that, and we always do. I always take a few minutes after the show to try and respond to people very quickly, and then we follow up usually during the week. So you've heard about Cambridge Analytica. You have heard about what's going on, at least a little bit, what's going on with Facebook and with the data harvesting. Cambridge Analytica, and Karen brought up a really great point this week. And did you ever research this, Karen? Is Cambridge Analytica a part of, what's the name of it? Cambridge Associates or something? Cambridge Research. We've had them on the show a few times. It's been a few years since we had them on. But I wonder, because they're also out of the UK. Both these places are out of the UK. So Christopher Wiley, he is a guy who left Cambridge Analytica And he's been kind of the whistleblower behind this whole thing. He's been spilling his guts about the role he played in the data transfer. And as a result of that, Facebook stock lost about $50 billion in value. Investors are suing Facebook now. The Federal Trade Commission has opened an investigation. And I stand back a little bit and say, there's nothing to see here. This is a nothing burger, right? What is Facebook in the business of doing? Why are there investors? Why is there stock? Why is Zuckerberg the most wealthy man in the world, or was? I don't know where he's at now. I know he lost billions of dollars as well. Why? Because he has built a social media platform that people use. And not only do they use it, but they give a lot of information to Facebook. And they give a lot of information, therefore, to Facebook's advertisers. You can narrow in on Facebook to find almost anyone that you want to. Now, Facebook got rid of the feature where you could actually run an ad for one individual person. That feature's gone, but you can narrow it right down to people who are living in Manchester, New Hampshire, who even are interested in this topic or that topic. Remember Facebook just a couple of months ago, the whole controversy around people buying ads that were directed at white supremacists or black supremacists or Hispanic supremacists, like people who supported La Raza, the Hispanic race. All of these supremacist groups, white, black, Hispanic, and you could aim at an individual group and people who talked about that, who supported them, who even said positive things. Facebook has, as part of their programming, a way of detecting what you think about something, so based on your language. So they had all of these problems because Facebook was supporting racist advertising in all kinds of different races or against different races. Now they're saying, oh my gosh, Facebook has been giving access to people, researchers, as well as giving access to businesses, campaigns, so that they can narrow it down and target people who agree with them. And not only do they want people who agree with them, they want people who agree with a very narrow particular point of view, because that narrow particular point of view is something that they can use. So for instance, let's say you are all into pink bunny rabbits. Facebook has information about you that says you're into pink bunny rabbits, and some campaign out there says, you know what, we should be pro pink bunny rabbit. And now they put together an ad that is shown to the people that like pink bunny rabbits. Is anyone shocked here? Anybody? Anybody? Right? It looks like nothing illegal was done. This is all within Facebook's terms of service. But the part that was the most interesting to me are the number of people, a couple 100,000, that, I don't know, fell prey, is that the right way to put it, to an ad that was run on Facebook. So here's what happened. And I saw this ad myself, okay? There's an ad on Facebook for take a psychological profile, find out if you are blah, blah, right? So that ad appeared on Facebook, and people clicked on it and said, yeah, okay. So I clicked on it because I wanted to find out more about it, right? Mr. Techie, right? How are they doing the marketing? How is the technology behind this working? So I clicked on it thinking, well, this would be kind of interesting. One of my minors in college was psychology. So I've always been interested in that sort of thing. So I clicked on it, and what's the first thing that comes up? And you've seen this before. You play Candy Crush. You've seen this before. The application would like access to... Now, you've seen that not only on Facebook, you've seen it on other websites. You've seen it on your iPhone. You've seen it on Android. In fact, on the Android platform, it tells you a lot more details than it tells you on the iOS platform. But we're talking about Facebook right now. And it said that the application wanted access to information about me and my friends. I don't remember the exact wording of it, right? This was a little bit ago. but it wanted access to that information. And that immediately caused me to pause. And I wondered, why would they want or need access to information about my friends? And even more than that, why would I give them access to that? So I just canceled right out of it. I did not go in and take that little psychological profile. You know, it's the kind of thing, it kind of reminds me of going over to a friend's house. We did this last week. We went over to a friend's house and we played a board game. It was really kind of a fun one of these lock room games. I've never actually played them before. I've seen them on TV, but I didn't realize there were kind of a board game that was a lock room, and we had fun. So what do you do with those things? Well, you play those sorts of games, and maybe you play a game of, you know, what kind of person are you? Who hasn't taken one of those types of profiles? So a couple 100,000 people said, yeah, sure, let me try it. And they did the profile. Well, what was really going on was that behind the scenes, they wanted access to all of this information about your friends so they could start to put together profiles of voters. That's really what they were after. So they did that, and off it goes. They gathered all the information. It went off to Cambridge Analytica, and they used it in the Trump campaign. Well, where's the problem here? And boiling it all down, 50 million people had some of their data harvested because their friend wanted to play a game on Facebook. Is that legit? Am I saying that right? I think I am. That's what it was. So the Trump campaign got information on 50 million people. Now, first of all, that happens every day. Every campaign buys Facebook ads and targets them at people that they try and get out the vote. They try and sway public opinion, right? Isn't that what a campaign is about? So where's the problem? And an interesting article here by Robert Epstein. And this particular article is about this problem. And what he's boiling it down to is that we shouldn't really care that this happened, that Cambridge Analytica did this, right? In this day and age of big data that I've been talking about for a long time, do we want companies to have this? In this day and age of big data, this is frankly inevitable, right? And he talks in this article that was in the Daily Caller about scientific research that he conducts on online manipulation. And he says at this point, I probably know more than anyone else in the world. And it's trying to manipulate our thinking, our opinions, our purchases, our votes. That it's all real, frankly, right? So Cambridge Analytica claims to have purchased 5,000 data points. So that's digital facts, data points or digital facts, about every voter in America before the 2016 election. And they also use some of these psychometric techniques to figure out how best to influence the voters. That's that little game I was talking about earlier. They use Facebook's ads manager, which thousands of companies do every day to match up their products with potential buyers. It allowed them to display their ads. So what's the big deal? Everybody does it. Well, frankly, that is the big deal. The big deal is that everyone does it because Google and Facebook and some of these other platforms are the problem. Bottom line, right? You boil it right down. What's the problem? It's that they are collecting all of this information on us and they are selling it. So it's a really interesting article, a good read if you want to find out more. Now, when we get back, we talked about what had happened here at Cambridge Analytica with the current election cycle, or the previous election cycle, with President Trump's people. 50 million people they got information on. When we get back, we are going to talk about what happened here in the Obama campaign, about Obama's campaign director and the bombshell that was dropped by Carol Davidson. And you'll find out, if you want to look her up, you may be able to find it still out on Twitter, because that's where she dropped that bombshell. Stick around. We'll be right back. More of Craig Peterson and our tech are coming right at you. Stick around. We'll be right back. Okay, so hold on one second here. I've been trying to mute it if I have to cough, so you guys don't have to listen to it. Okay, there we go. Had a little bit of congestion lately. I think it's probably some sort of an allergy. Okay, we're definitely not going to get to this Pakistani story, so we'll talk about it right here. We're not going to get to it on the air, but you guys who are watching this live, you'll be able to get this. So House investigators have now concluded that those Democratic IT aides, in other words, the aides that were working for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, as well as other Congress critters, made unauthorized access to the congressional servers in 2016. So it's alleged here that they accessed the data of members, not only the members they worked for, and I think there were, a dozen or so, but they also covered their tracks and they accessed information from other Congress people, okay? So they logged in, these Pakistanis logged in as members of Congress. So this is just classic behavior for insiders to exfiltrate data from an organization. That's what's said in the report. So translating it means this is exactly what you would expect people to do who are trying to steal data. So let's think about the Russian hack. Remember, the Democrats said, oh, our servers were hacked, and that's how WikiLeaks got the information. But the Democrats would not allow law enforcement to examine the servers. Maybe these guys are the ones that gave that information to the Democrats. There's also allegations out there that it could have been, in fact, someone working for the Democrat National Committee who did it. But 44 Democrats were involved in this. They didn't take protective measures taken after a breach. They did not cooperate with the police. It really makes you wonder what the heck happened here. This presentation, by the way, was written by the House's Office of the Inspector General, and the headline was Unauthorized Access. 5 employee system administrators have collectively logged into 15-member offices and the Democrat caucus, although they were not employed by the offices they accessed. Nefarious purposes. This is the Imran Awan, his wife Hina Alvi, his brothers Abid and Jamal, and his friend Rabo Abbas, all Pakistani-born aides, and it goes on and on. They're talking about crazy amounts of corruption. Okay, we are coming back here in 10 seconds on the air for our final segment of the day. Busy, busy day. There we go. All right, we've been talking a little bit about the whole Facebook issue here, Cambridge Analytica. Some people have turned this a hack. It was not a hack. There was no hack about it. There was certainly manipulation, psychological techniques that were employed, but this, unfortunately, is the type of thing that happens all the time, okay? So 50 million people exposed here with the Trump organization. Well, here we go. An article by Jason Howerton. This is really kind of interesting here. He says a former Obama campaign official is claiming that Facebook knowingly allowed them to mine massive amounts of data, more than they would have allowed anyone else to do, because they were supportive of the Obama campaign. In a tweet thread last Sunday, Carol Davidson, she's the former director of integration and media analytics for Obama for America, said the 2012 campaign led Facebook to, quote, suck out the whole social graph and target potential voters, end quote. They then use that data to do things like append their email lists. So she posted a picture on Twitter of how they did that, how they had information on everyone that has ever used Facebook. When Facebook found out what they were doing, they were, quote, surprised, unquote, she said. But they also claimed they didn't stop them once they found out. Okay, so here's a quote from Obama for America's Director of Integration and Media Analytics. Facebook was surprised we were able to suck out the whole social graph. But they didn't stop us once they realized that it was us who was doing it. Okay, you think Facebook doesn't have a left-wing agenda? So that's a quote, direct quote from her, March 19th, 2018, that she posted out on Twitter. Now, you'll find her Twitter account if you have something to say to her or you want to see what she's saying. She's at CLD276, CLD, Carol something Davidson, CLD276. Quote, they came to office in the days following election recruiting and were very candid that they allowed us to do things they would not have allowed someone else to do because they were on our side, said the Obama for America 2012, one of their campaign directors. She said this on Twitter last week, bragging about it, bragging about Facebook giving everything about everyone to Obama. And yet, what's the media talking about? They're talking about the Trump campaign buying information and using information the exact same way businesses, thousands of businesses do every day. She added that she believes Facebook also recruits people on the other side. Okay, I'm also 100% positive that Facebook actively, I think she meant to say, but she says, I'm 100% positive that Facebook activity recruits and staffs people that are on the other side. I worked on all of the data integration projects at Obama for America. This was the only one that felt creepy, even though we played by the rules and didn't do anything I felt was ugly with the data. So playing by the rules, you mean Facebook told you that they would not allow the Republicans to have access to this information, but they allowed you, and somehow you were playing by the rules. I don't know why anyone else in the media isn't covering this. I haven't heard a soul talk about this, okay? Just amazing. By the way, Obama campaign's Facebook targeting campaign was called Project Targus, T-A-R-G-U-S. I should look that up. I bet you that's mythological something or other. That's because this is a quote from her again, more than 1 million Obama backers who signed up for the Facebook-based app gave the campaign permission to look at their Facebook friend list. Does that sound familiar to anyone? In an instant, the campaign had a way to see the hidden young voters. Roughly 85% of those without a listed phone number could be found in the uploaded friend lists. Remember, you uploaded to Facebook all of your friends so you could find out if they were online. So your contact information, the email addresses. So Obama for America was able to get all of those. Back to her. What's more, Facebook offered an ideal way to reach them. Please don't trust campaigns. They don't even trust media organizations. Who do they trust? Their friends. The campaign called this effort targeted sharing, and in those final weeks of the campaign, the team blitzed the supporters who had signed up for the app with requests to share specific online content with specific friends simply by clicking a button. More than 600,000 supporters followed through with more than 5 million contacts asking their friends to register to vote, give money, vote, or look at a video designed to change their mind. A Geek Squad Chicago created models from vast data sets to find the best approaches for each potential voter. Quote, "We are not just selling you a banner ad," explains Dan Wager, the Obama campaign's 29-year-old head of analytics, who helped oversee the project. Quote, "We are giving you relevant information from your friends." Facebook was reached out to by Jason Howerton, to get comments on it, to find out what was going on. They did not respond to him, as though that's a surprise. Now, the reason I'm talking about all of this, you realize I'm a libertarian, right? So I'm not fond of Republicans, I'm not fond of Democrats, okay? But the reason I'm sharing this with you is I want everyone to think about the consequences. What are the ultimate consequences of us sharing everything online, of us being the product of these social media companies? What are the consequences? And what are the consequences ultimately? Let's say that we are living in a communist country, that the socialists have taken over. Let's pretend that we're living in a place like China, where everything is run by the government. What are you saying? What does the government have? What are they going to use it for? Are you going to be barred by TSA to get on an airplane because of something you said on social media? Remember, people are already complaining about that because TSA and our immigration officials are looking at social profiles of people trying to come into the country, as well as people who are trying to gain citizenship or green cards, etc. Great questions, I think, right, that we need to consciously ask, because once again, technology is ahead of policy and ahead of the law. So this is going to be an interesting time, let me tell you, as we move forward. All right, we're out of time. Make sure that you visit me online. If you have any questions, just open your phone. You can text me directly, 855-385-5553, 855-385-5553. Any questions at all, I can send you reminders if you want to, but we can engage in discussion right there, or on Facebook, or Twitter, or on my website, craigpeterson.com. Have a great week. See you next Saturday. Bye-bye. Okay, we're off the air, so we will just kind of terminate this here on Facebook. There are so many things. I didn't get to this, right? How to change your settings to prevent Facebook from sharing your data. We have to cover that. You'll find that up on my website, in my email this morning. And Karen, are you putting all of these up on Twitter, all of the articles, even the ones I didn't discuss?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got them already on Facebook and on both Facebook groups.
Okay, good.
I'm working on Twitter right now.
So Karen has all of these up. You might want to have a look. They're up in my Facebook page. They're up in my Twitter account. They're in my group. If you are a member of my e-security coach group,
The security ones are up there.
you'll find it in there, all of the security related stuff, and you'll find everything on my regular Tech Talk page. So have a great week. Thanks for joining me. And today it was 53 minutes, which I guess that makes sense, right? It's 44 minutes of airtime on the radio in an hour and 52 minutes worth of Facebook. Have a great week. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.